Buonasera,
Ciao, ciao, buonasera.
come stai?
Molto bene?
Bene, bene. Tutto bene con lo Zoom e il tempo?
Sì, ma tu parli italiano?
Ah, sì, a volte, ma sì, ho studiato all'università e poi ho passato un anno a Padova anni fa giocando a pallanuoto.
Ah, che figo.
Sì, sì,
Ah,
sì.
bene.
E tu dove sei adesso? Vivi
A
in
casa?
Soave?
No, io abito a Gambellara.
Gammellara. Okay, okay. Gotcha.
Non
But
lo
anyway,
conosci perché è
well,
piccolo.
on the map, yes, but no, I've never been.
It's on the way. It's on the way from Venice to Milan, and it's not far from Soave.
Gotcha, cool. But yeah, I figured we would do this in English so that we can put it online and we'll have more of our customers anyway understanding it. But thank you for chatting. We have absolutely loved the wine. The Penat has been divine. I mean, the acid is really, really nice. I don't know if you've had a chance to try it recently, but it's beautiful.
Thank you. But your name, how is the
Oh,
pronunciation of your name?
sorry. Yes, I'm Phoebe, by the way.
Phoebe. Okay, right. Because there's a funny story, but I prefer you don't tell to your follower that Phoebe, it's a famous name due to the fact that the France, Syria, there was, but in Italy, Phoebe is Febe.
Oh, was it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes. And so since my wife is Czech, in Czech Republic, they pronounce it right, Phoebe. And
Ah.
I always told her, it's not Phoebe, it's Phoebe. They are different. Because Chandler is Chandler, all the other are right. But this one was wrong.
Yeah,
Okay, so she was right.
yes, she was. Props to your wife. But no, it was funny. I couldn't, when I was living there in Padua, it was a really difficult name for all my teammates to get as well. So they just gave me an Italian name. They gave me Fabiana. So I was Fabiana.
I would say that Phoebe is easier, but I don't understand why they have this denotation.
That's good. So, anyway, I would love to essentially just hear more of the story of Menti from your voice, a little bit of the history. You're second generation, is that correct? Fourth. Ah, yeah. So there's a lot of interesting history there that, obviously you don't need to go through all of it, but some of the finer points, the highlights that really have defined Menti into what it is today. And then a little bit more about essentially what you wrote me about why you guys decided to start making PetNat, but in your words, and then a little bit more about the PetNat itself and what you think about the possible future for PetNat, whether the domestic market is really growing or yeah, if you have any other fun projects you guys are working
A lot
on.
of things. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, a lot of things I have to say about that.
Super, super. So why don't you, I guess, start us at the beginning if you would, and can you give us a brief history of how Menti was really started by your great grandparents?
My great grandfather, yes, my grandfather.
Okay.
So, okay, it's quite simply, but or maybe in the States nobody know, but in Italy and also in Italy sometimes the people doesn't know that in the past Italy was a country of farmers. So the industry arrived not so early, but quite late. And in the place where you lived also in the past, we were all farmers. So the beginning, my great grandfather, he was a farmer producing grape, most for the family sustainable. And so he was producing grape, vegetables, he had the animals, and he was also producing wine, that the wine was used for self-consumption, but also he was selling some wine. But at the time that we are speaking, at the end of 19th centuries, probably the wine was more trade like exchange material, exchange goods than having wine for money.
Yeah.
After my grandfather, because my great grandfather, that was the company founder, name was Giovanni. like my father. So that's the name of the company now, still now. And my father, he continued the job of the father by the age of 20 during the Second World War. He was also imprisoned in the state in Germany, and freedom by the state, the U.S. Army. So there was an interruption period between the wars.
Yeah.
And my father, that is still alive, but he is still active. Also, if I don't want that he works in the winery because he's more than 70, and is right that he enjoy his retirement period. But he has the same name of my great grandfather, and he started working in the vineyards at the age of 16, when when it was the 1964.
Gotcha.
So he's lucky guy because he saw more than 50 harvest, and he's not sure. Also, if I need to do this harvest, because now in Italy you will be retired at the age of 70, so I need this time to be retired, but I'm not sure that I'm able to see, because maybe can happen everything in the life that maybe you pass away earlier, so you never know.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, he was working with organic methods during the 60s, 70s, 80s, because there were no other possibilities. After that, at the end of the 80s, based on the fact that he had no education, but I also haven't had no education in agriculture or in winemaking,
Mm.
he was advised by the authorities at the time that to pass to the chemical farming. So there was support with fertilizer. There were support of a lot of ingredients in the winery, and the wine, in my opinion, and also now in his opinion, and also customer friends' opinion, they change and they lost the personalities.
Interesting. So how quickly did they notice that change?
How couldn't they know
How
now?
quickly how quickly did they notice that change between, the pre when it was organic and it tasted a certain way, and then after he started using chemicals and the taste of the
It,
wine
it, it
changed?
was it was very fast, because I'm not I don't know if I'm answering well, otherwise you stop me. But what I was told is that there was economic growing in Italy during the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Was one of the best period connected with all the problem with the drugs, because I was a small child, and in the country, in the village, we had a lot of people addicted to heroin. There was a lot of money, and they didn't realize that they were doing something bad. They didn't realize that they were polluting the soil. They didn't realize that the wines were not much more mineral as before. They were not the expression of our terroir, but they were standardizing. But
Mhm.
also the authorities, also the consortio that should protect the appellation, also the ministry, they were pushing on extensive production, and they didn't want that you have many trees, vine trees per hectare. They want that you have a few trees that you supply with fertilizer, that you supply with water, but we had no water to supply. And so they were producing huge quantity of grape from small extension of vineyards.
Right.
When I came back, that I didn't know anything about wine, because I was not, I was working different field, and I was quite successful in my job. And when I decided to help my father because he was not successful at the time, I started to read some books about biodynamic. I started to taste some wine from France,
Mm.
from Italy, from Spain, from other countries, also from New World, also from the
Mm.
United States. And the common point on my favorite wines was that they came from at least organic, but the main of them, they were from biodynamic agriculture.
Yeah.
So I understood that there was something back. that what was told to me from my father, but also from other colleagues from the village. That is a small village. We are about 22 or 23 bottlers, so it's really a niche of a production. I realized that there was something not clear in what I was receiving as information.
Mm,
So I started reading some books of biodynamic. That the most of them they were not in Italian. The most were in French.
mm,
The eldest they were in German, and I speak a bit
mhm.
of German, but not so much. I don't speak French, so it was necessary to translate. And after, I would say that at the half of 2000, we started receiving some translations in Italian,
Yeah.
printed by Slow Food or other. So I started to understand that there was possibilities to have an ancient farming, because after when I started to explain my father how I would manage the company, he said that my grandfather was working that way. So it was not something new, but was something based on old knowledges.
Yeah.
And so we moved to this direction.
It had just been given a new name and advertised under a different, yeah, a name that it just didn't have before.
Yes, a different name, but overall there was probably one gap in the middle when the people and when the human beings had the thought that they had the true, but the true was already written in the past and was already based in the older farmer knowledges.
Right.
And so we started working these ways. In 2004, we introduced the organic farming, and we had no changing in bad ways of production, because the quantity they were reasonable, but the grape was better. And
Mm,
we reduced a lot of the expenditure, because we were not using fertilizer. We were using material very cheap to protect from fungus disease. So we are using very low quantity of copper and quantity of sulfur. And after in 2010, we introduced the biodynamic agriculture, and we had very good result, always growing. In 2020, for us, it was the highest point, because we produce a lot of quantity with a very nice quality,
mm,
and we were out of the trend of our colleagues. Our colleagues, they produce less quantity and less quality, but we can speak about our colleagues, neighbor, that they are close to our vineyard. They work in organic way, but they had not the same result, and they are asking how we can have these results.
right. So at the time when you guys started in early 2000s, that was that still pretty strange for people to be doing that to, yeah.
Yes, yes. We were not the first. We were not the starter. There were already somebody changing. There are a
Mm,
producer in our town, in our village, but also in other part of Italy or of France or other countries, that they were changing.
mhm,
But based on my age, that I was 21, it was quite strange, because it seemed that a known company like was my father one, with some customer, if you do this changing, of course you will lose all the customer. And it is what it happened, that we
yeah,
lost the most customer, because they were not available to spend more money for higher quality, but also they were not expecting to get back to the taste of the original wine.
mm,
They were used to drink standardized wine, that also if they are made by Garganega, that is the most important grape we have in our village, Gambellara, that is all founded on a black rock volcanic soil.
mm,
Also, if Garganega should have its own taste, the most of the wine fermented with slightly yeast that you could find at that time, and sometimes also now, by Garganega, they taste like Chardonnay, but more than
mm.
Chardonnay, they taste like Sauvignon.
Really?
So it was a strong changing.
Yeah.
We were not the only one, so that's better. That's better. But of course, it was we were swimming against the stream. So
Yeah.
it was not that we were following the waves and that we were riding the waves that would make us much more successful. We were going in the opposite way.
Yeah.
Speaking about the pet nut or frizzante in Italian style wine, in our case, we were one of the first producer probably in Italy, but I'm not sure in Italy, but in our region, of course, and also in our village, because our first harvest of this sparkling, this pet nut, it was the 2007
Mhm.
that we started because we have several vineyards. The entire of them, they are in the town hall of Gambellara, that is very small. Also, if some of them they are quite far each other, and we have this vineyard that it's just out the village in the direction of the highway, but is still in uncontaminated green area, and it's on volcanic soil, but it's not rocky like the hillsides. It's powder volcanic soil that probably it was originated by floodation. So floodation were moving sands from the hillsides and moving in the flat area that is going to the direction of the Apennines also.
Yeah.
And this area is quite fertile.
Mhm.
And my stupid idea, but it was stupid idea of a child, was that if I reduce the production, so I reduce the quantity of grape, I would reach a higher quantity of sugar, higher quantity of extract, because we have to think, maybe you don't remember because you're young, but we have to think that at the beginning of 2000, the world was based on the wine very structured, very alcoholic, with a lot of barrels taste. And so I was looking to have a quite extraction and quite a sugar degree to have much more alcoholic wine.
Mm.
And the nature and the vineyard and the terroir answer me in a very simple way. I did short pruning. I did green pruning, removing a lot of grape to have a small quantity of grape. But the trees, they were so powerful that we had an explosion of grapes. And this explosion of grape and this wetness on the grape caused a lot of botrytis. And
Mm.
we had a very bad season. This one, it was 2006, that in Gambellara was good season because we had a lot of botrytis.
Mm.
And in that, based on that fact, I understood that the vineyard Roncaille, that is this vineyard, we
Mhm.
need to have not longer, but a bit longer pruning, and we have to leave the vineyard producing between 12, 14, sometimes 15 tons of grape per hectare,
Gotcha.
because it's the right quantity that the vineyard need.
Mm.
And we are producing grape naturally without any addition that are producing between 9.5, 9, maximal 11 alcohol degrees. And with the addition of a bit of juice of dry grape, because the second fermentation for us is started with the addition of dry grape juice. So with this addition, we are reaching another half degree. So if the wine is 10, we reach 10 and a half.
Mm.
And with this half degree, we are reaching between 2 bar and a half, sometimes less. And we have a natural pet nut wine made only by grape, because the first fermentation is natural, only grape. Second fermentation is grape juice
Mhm.
and produce the CO2, only grape, and the wine go in the market without any problem to get over the age, because it's protected by natural CO2. And
Yeah.
since the time you don't open the bottle, the wine is protected.
Yeah.
It's fun, it's nice, it's very, very easy and enjoyable wine that you can drink in every moment of the day with pizza, with some frightened things, with some easy things when you are receiving visit of some friends.
So back in 2006, to rewind a little bit, did you guys make dessert wine when you had all the botrytis?
No,
Huh.
no, no,
Interesting.
because very interesting question. Because I was how is in English? I had no experience. I was an unexperienced.
Sure.
And in Gambellara, the tradition, there is a huge tradition to produce dessert wine. So in fact, we produce, but we dry gently the grape, hang on the roof of an old tower, and we are looking, if possible, not to have the botrytis. So we have a special nice natural selection of the bed botrytis made by gravity force. So hanging this grape to the roof, the bad botrytis fall down and the good botrytis stay on. But if we have no the botrytis, for us is good at the same.
It's just a
I
dried
would
concentrated sugar.
Yes, yes. For us, it's important to reduce the water, concentrate the sugar, and concentrate the water, the acidity. But the question is good because, for example, this year, the 2020, that we had too much grape. We had no space enough for the all the grape in the winery, and so we left about 7,000 kilograms out in the vineyard, and we were looking to produce a botrytic wine.
Oh,
But after that, started to rain and after snow, and so we lost all this grape. But it was not a loss for us because we had enough grape in the winery, so we are very happy of the 2020 production.
you have to try experiments once in a while.
Yes, yes, we will do. If there will be the possibility, if the weather will help us, we will do. We have already did in other wineries because also we grow a quite good group of guys and they work with me. They are the Barba Boys because all of them, they have the bear and they are, the most of them are young, but it's not question of age. The important thing is that they are all guys that they love the nature. We
Mm,
have also the animal in the vineyard because we have a lot of sheep. We have
nice.
our own garden that we share for all workers. And we are quite well known. And so there are other wineries that often they ask our help in agriculture, in the winery. And so we are supporting this help and we are working with different kind of grapes. And working with different kind of grapes, in such case, we were able to produce this botrytic wine, only leaving the grape in the wine in the vineyard till the time of the harvest, and we had a very very interesting, nice results.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's a fun experiment. So when you guys released the Pet Nat in 2008, your first vintage, what,
2007 was the first harvest. Yes, 2008. You're right. We had the second fermentation.
so you released it in '08. Was anyone else in the area making Pet Nat then? How was the reception in the market? Were people like, what is this? Or people loved it or?
Yes, good question. Also because you asked me about the future, what I'm expecting about the pet nat. We were very shy. We were very worried if the second fermentation doesn't start.
Sure.
And maybe with the second fermentation, because we have to think some important things that often in the world of natural wine, often the people doesn't understand and doesn't expect. And also sometimes the natural wine, they are not always good wine. And this could happen also to us
Sure.
because you have to think that you have a base of wine that is made only by grape. So normally they have also the malolactic fermentation in the case of 96% of the cases. And so when you have malolactic made, there are not only e- alive yeast, deaf yeast, but there are also alive malolactic bacteria.
Mhm.
So when we add some juice, natural juice, you have weak yeast to start the second fermentation. You don't have any sulfite to avoid unexpected fermentation. You had not filtered the wine because filtering the wine is very helping to clean the wine from any bacteries, and so you are much more sure that you have the second fermentation. But filtering the wine, you are taking away proteins, taste, a lot of things, catechin, other things that can be oxidating, but they can be also good.
Yeah.
And this wine, they are quite poor in alcohol. So there are good things to start the second fermentation of yeast, but there are a lot of good things to start the second fermentation of other bacteries. So the risk is very high.
Yeah.
And based on my experience, this kind of wine should be much more expensive than red wine, than white wine, than orange wine, because it's much more difficult to produce this market that you cannot get over with the price. So sometimes this wine is much more expensive than other wine and less profitable than other wines. So getting back to 2008, we were quite worried that the second fermentation couldn't start.
Sure.
But we did a small quantity. The second fermentation drove very well. The wine was very nice. And when we were in the market, that we started to sell only in the Italian market, it was very appreciated like wine. Of course, many people that they used to drink the standard Prosecco or standard other sparkling wine, they say, okay, it seemed the wine my grandfather was producing.
Hmm.
But it seemed that wine, not only because it's cloudy, because there are the yeast in the bottom part, because the first part of the bottle is different than last part. So maybe I should shake to have the same quantity of yeast per each glass. But it seemed the same, the kind of the wine produced by grandfather, because it's very easy, drinkable, light. It seemed much more a grape juice than a wine, or it seems much more some handcraft beer than a wine.
Totally. Yeah.
Yes, and we start to work this way and growing. We were not bottling all the quantity of the Roncaille vineyard because we were not sure to be able to sell. At the beginning, I have to say we were selling the wine very cheap price, very good for who was purchasing the wine at the time. And after we grow very much, and now we are producing the much quantity that the vineyard is producing. Sometimes can be 24,000 bottles, sometimes can be 70,000 bottles. One year we had 3 times hailstorm, so we produce only 6,000 bottles. So we are producing the quantity the vineyard can do. The grape comes only from that vineyard. There are no other vineyard. And we are very successful, and we are very well known all over the world because of this wine, but not only by the customer like you are, that you develop and promote our wine, and after there is the final customer that enjoy our wine, but we are very well known also from our colleagues. We have colleagues from Austria, from Germany, from Australia, from France, that they visited us to understand how we work. And we explain how we work, because we are natural wine producer, but we want to have good results. So we have very pragmatic approach. So the wine after fermentation, we have some analysis to understand how many sugar we left, to understand how much CO2 is still remaining in the wine, because you have to calculate also that one. And we are doing all the process to have no certain result, but we are going to that direction. Anyway, the result is not guaranteed, because there are many variables things that sometimes could happen, that malolactic fermentation is stronger than alcoholic second fermentation, and the yeast for second fermentation, they are burning 4 grams of sugar and they are producing 1 bar of pressure. But if there is a malolactic fermentation with 4 grams, they are producing 0.3 bars of pressure. So maybe we do all perfect to have 2 bar and a half, and after we have 1 bar and 0.5, 1 bar 0.6, because there were other bacteries working.
And this is the thing that we are trying to help customers understand in the US, is that because there are all of these uncontrolled variables in making pet nat, you will inevitably have a huge variation in the CO2 in every bottle, as well as you need to understand why it's more expensive than Prosecco, because it's very different than Prosecco. It's made completely different. It's got so much more work that goes into it, right?
Right, right. And the job you are doing is very, very important for us. I can also understand the customer, the wine lover, that of course sometimes they are expecting something from one bottle and they have not the same result. But the answer and the explanation is right.
Mm.
Of course, probably speaking about the future of this wine, but also getting on what we were telling together now in this moment. In my opinion, there will be a limitation of price, and so this wine will have always to be a easy drinking wine also on the price.
Mm.
And I think that about Menti we reach the highest price that we can reach. That we are not speaking about $70. We are speaking wine that are for very easy drinking price. Also based on this risk.
Yeah.
So if I go in Italy, you buy this wine at 15 euros, that probably is 17, $18. If I spend $18 to buy one bottle of wine, good, I'm happy. If this bottle of wine is not so much good like the other, okay, it's less than $20. And
Yeah.
so it's I can understand and I can appreciate it the same. The
Right.
very, very important thing of this kind of wine is that they are very drinkable and they match very well with the food.
Yeah.
So really you can enjoy this wine. You can drink the wine in every moment of the day. You can drink one bottle in two person. You can drink one bottle in one person.
Exactly. We do
You
it all
you
the
are drunk?
time.
Probably no. Probably you are not drunk. Of course you cannot drive. Of course you cannot work, but you stay well. And
Yeah.
so that's, in my opinion, the main aim we have.
Yeah.
And the future, also about speaking about trading,
Well,
is that there
you,
is
before you go into the future of it, what are your favorite pairings with the pet nat, with the minty?
ah, I say always, and I said also in the past, that it's a branch wine. So you can drink this wine in every moment of the day.
Mhm.
I like very much this pet nut with the pizza generally.
Mm.
I remember once I drank in the United States with pizza because it was very advised in one pizzeria in Brooklyn and it was a perfect match.
Awesome.
Also, I like very much with the fried things. So if it's fish or vegetables, I like with generally with the fish. And I consider the wine like a brunch wine because if I'm receiving a visit from friends at 10 a.m., at 3 p.m., or at the aperitif time, if I cut some salami, some cheese, I bake some bread, I use only olive oil, it's always matching, always matching. Of course, you cannot match with very important meat, very, very, very aged cheeses, because it's a easy wine. It's a wine to drink in the swimming pool. It's a wine to drink under the shower. So it's easy to drink this wine, and there are not so much limitation.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's been one of my favorite daytime wines. It's been so good. So good. But so we're starting to talk about the future of where you see Pet Nat, and I'd be curious to hear what you think about both, you know, the whole winery's future, whether it's maybe expanding Pet Nat or creating another one, and then the category as a whole internationally as you've seen it grow.
Yes, there are several things to say. So first of all, it's quite I don't know if it's right, inflected wine. Inflection. They are producing too much wine on this.
Uh, there's too much right now. You're saying there.
Yes, yes. So soon there will be some choices because, in my opinion, but I'm sure that the market regulate everything. So there will be not too expensive pet nut because people doesn't expect to pay too much money for pet nut. They are available to spend too much money for orange wine that has no sense because it's easier to produce than pet nut. But that's the market, and there are a lot of wines. Many of them they are not good. A lot of producers they are approaching to this market with wine not so good, but the market will decide.
Mhm.
And there are also producers that they are non-natural, that they are producing wine very similar to natural wine and also pleasant, but they are non-natural. But such people like me or other wine lover can recognize this. But we are 20-30% of the market. In fact, with the Barba Boys, we are testing every week. We are doing 50 tasting, blind tasting per year, so once a week, where we taste natural or non-natural wine, blind tasting. And before the tasting was open only to the team of Menti, but after there were other producer, but also director of wineries and other colleagues, they understood that we are doing once a week this tasting, so they are coming also, they are bringing a lot of wine. And I understood that the trend is very much focused to bring
Mm.
industrial wine very similar to natural.
Interesting.
And I have to say that till this time, I was always successful because I always understand and recognize the wine, but probably I'm lucky or probably I'm drinking from very long time.
Mm.
I have some of the best of my friend and my colleagues that we are always drinking together that they didn't recognize the wine. Sometimes they say, very good wine, in my opinion, is natural wine. And after we understand that it's industrial wine, very well done. Probably they had the organic grape. They did the second fermentation with select yeast very fast, so they had no problem of volatile acidity. They started the second fermentation, directly went to the bottle without sulfate, but you can feel that you are missing one part of the soul.
Interesting.
On the other hand, sometimes there are natural wine that they have some problem of second fermentation, and my colleagues they say it probably is not so natural, but
Mm.
it was.
Mm.
So probably the key is to drink a lot of quantity. Of course,
Yeah.
you cannot always drink a lot of quantity, but when you drink a lot of quantity of natural wine, you have no problem the day after,
Yeah.
but also in the same day. When you drink a lot of quantity of non-natural wine, sometimes you have problem because also if they are made without sulfates, there are a lot of other ingredients that they are used to start the second fermentation, like additives, like food to feed the yeast. There are other parts to make the wine much more fat. That are all parts that our liver has to filter.
Yeah.
And when our liver filtering a lot of is asking oxygen to the brain, and after you have the headache and stomach problem.
Yep.
So I'm positive. I decided not to produce more quantity than the wine we produce. We could probably have demand. We have a demand of 100,000 or much more bottles,
Mm.
but that's our quantity. We reach, in my opinion, the highest price we can reach, and that's enough for us. That's
Mm.
enough.
Gotcha. Yeah, it does seem like there's going to be a correction in the market soon, as you were saying. So I feel like any day now, someone like Gallo is going to produce a pet nat, right? And they'll make it for, they'll try to sell it maybe for $14 or $15 in the US, and they'll make 100,000 bottles of it at first, but it won't taste the same. And what we'll have to see is whether or not the customer recognizes that, right? Whether the soul that you're talking about that is missing from a lot of those more conventionally produced wines, are people going to recognize that, and will they care?
They will decide.
Yeah,
They will decide.
we'll see.
Oh, the same is happening in Italy. There are big producers that they are producing very well done pet nut, and they are promoting no like natural because they are not so they are not so liar than they are. But they are going the market with the funny labels. In fact, now there's also this problem that there are too much funky labels, and the market sometimes also for me it's difficult to choose some wine if I have not right information. Sometimes I buy some wine that after they are not good or they are fake wine.
Right, it's hard to tell. That's the another challenge with pet nat in the US anyway, is that it doesn't really say what it is. There's very little information. There's because there is that lack of standardization and regulation of the category, now
Yeah.
it is a risky bottle to buy, which is part of the reason why we started our project, because we wanted to add a layer of filtering through importers and what consumers buy, so that they aren't always, not always, but so they're not so often purchasing, wines for $20, $30 and pouring it out. So we're glad that Menti was a part of it. It was so good, and we featured it in this tasting the other night that we did with some customers virtually. And then when I started talking about how the wineries in Suave DOC had left the DOC, uh, a few of the customers were saying how much they loved the wine even more because of that story. Did your family, how did that fit in for you guys when it came to leaving the DOC or not putting Suave on the labels anymore?
Of course, we are proud of our terroir and our origin. So,
Mm.
because when I enter in the winery, I spent more than 10 years with the appellation and the DOC, and I was active counselor of the team who take decision in the DOC. But there are limitations based on close brains of young and small producer, and there are of course big interest on the big companies. So it was not easy choice. My father really he thought that it was the wrongest choice because he was expecting that it will be no possible to be such successful as before, but we were not so successful before. And on the other hand, we were very successful. We tried to communicate our choice
Mm.
because, on the respect of the customer, we don't want that the customer has to pay some taxes because the wine is DOC, and the only peculiarity that the wine is DOC is that the grape come from that village, and the grape has that minimal quantity of acidity and has the minimal quantity of alcohol. You
Right.
switch off my light. Okay, they switch off my light. And but nobody take care if the taste of the wine is reproducing the terroir of origin.
Right.
And this one is really really the worst thing, because if the taste of the wine has not to reproduce the terroir, okay, so we can produce the same grape in Ukraine, or we can produce the same grape in also in Champagne, and
Mm.
we say that it's our terroir.
Yeah.
So based on this choice and based on this policy, we were very successful. And sometimes in the world there are really some surprises, because you meet good and old sommelier, good and old importers, restaurant manager. They taste the wine, and maybe they had the remaining of the wine, the Garganega from Soave and Gambellara, at them past, and they say, but this is not expression of your terroir.
Mm.
And the truth is that this is expression of my terroir, but probably they have drunk only wrong wine. But if you are lucky and you find people that they are 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they say, I remember that I drank this amazing wine when I was in Italy, or when in the United States, Bolla was importing, and the wine was good during the 70s, and it was made this way.
Mm. Right. Exactly. It's just that the
The
terroir
problem,
is missing
the
for a
only,
while.
the only problem is that this wine is in crisis. So they should do something to change the wine, but they are not doing.
Hmm. You're talking about the
And
Suave DOC wines.
it's a pity, it's strange, but they are not changing.
Mm.
It's strange.
What do
But
you,
it's not Suave for other appellation also. It's
yeah.
very strange.
And with respect to Soave, for example, what do you think would, what are a couple things they could change that would have a positive effect?
Ah, beh, the most of all, the first of all is to get organic cultivation at least. That is very easy. It's not so difficult. In the past, our grandfather were doing, and you will have also better country for tourists. First of all,
Mm,
and second one is to avoid selected yeast. The selected yeast, it's very sure for the winemaker. It saves you a lot of time, a lot of problems, a lot of warness, but the result is the same for every terroir.
mm,
So if you change this thing and you have your own fermentation from the grape of Garganica, from Gambellara, from Soave that is 10 kilometers far, from Monteforte that is 5 kilometers far, or from Ilasi that is 15 kilometers far, you have a completely different results. And
mhm,
this different result is the peculiarity that you are promoting and that you are explaining why you should buy this wine because it's different than the other. And maybe you like more of the wine from Gambellara, maybe I like more the wine from Ilasi, maybe another friend like more the wine from Monteforte, but everyone has own expression and own reason to be purchased and drunk.
yeah,
And I like not to drink only my wine, so I buy a lot of wine, and so I would be happy if there are more wine on my area that I can buy and drink.
yeah. Has the local reception to pet nat been pretty strong? Do you see the Menti pet nat all over Veneto now?
Um, yes, we had in the past, I would say something like 10 years ago, we had a big growth and the petnat, but not only the petnat, also the other wine, they were very well spread all over the Veneto and very well spread all over the Italy. And so a lot of colleagues, they started to copy, to be inspired by us, and that's good. That's good. When somebody is doing something good, is always better. When somebody is changing the agriculture in organic, also if it's a big industrial company, is always better for our environment. And the truth is now that you can find less Mentis wine in Italy because we are exporting a lot, because the quantity is limited. And so since not till 5 6 years ago we were able to keep 50% of production in Italy, 50% production abroad. Now I would say that the 15% is in Italy and 85% abroad, but not because we want to be in the United States, because we want to be in Japan, and we because we hate Italy. We love Italy, we are proud to be Italian, and we are happy when foreigner friends come and enjoy the Italy. But because the demand is so big that
Yeah,
it's a pity not to give a small quantity to Russia, a small quantity to Korea, a small quantity to Australia. And so we are sharing, when, before to be in the market, we are contacting all our customers. All our customers, they say, okay, I would like to have 12,000 bottles. Sorry, friend, we can give you 2,000 bottles.
mhm,
And we don't want to speculate. We don't want to raise the price. We want to keep the price. But you can be happy all over the world.
and
So
exactly.
there are good things because countries like United States where there are not so much duties, like Japan, thanks to our friend Trump, and then now he left, so there are no more that problem.
Yep.
Except some countries like Australia or UK where the duty are high,
Mm,
you really can find with the right policy that we have for price, you can find the same price in the United States than in Italy, than in France, than in Japan.
wow.
So the one bottle of pet nat in Italy is 15 euros, in United States is $20, in France is 17 euros, in Japan in yen is connected to 19 euros. So
Mm,
that's, in my opinion, is very nice, very
yeah,
nice. Because you tourist that you come to Italy, you drink good wine, but after you don't find the same wine at $90, $110.
exactly.
And this
That's,
also may help us to make us successful.
yeah, that's difficult to manage too. So well done being able to accomplish that. Well,
Yes, it's based on the company policy.
yeah, that's great. Well, Stefano, I've taken a lot of your time. Thank you for speaking with me. We have some amazing parts of the story now with Menti that I think people will be really excited to hear about. This is the one thing that I think people love and miss the most about getting to know wineries and going to wineries is getting to speak with the owners and the winemakers. And thank you for, and grazie mille for sitting with us and sharing the story of Menti.
That's true what you said. Thank you very much to be your guest, and thank you very much for the job you are doing. And it's very, very important for us to communicate, to explain which work we are doing, because we are working very much. But if there is no communication, if the people they don't understand what we are doing, they cannot help us drinking our wine. That is the best way to be appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers to that.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day, because today here is evening. Now we go for dinner.
Exactly. Yeah. Buon appetito.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye
Ciao.
bye.